Here at the International Desk, I'm Lynda Kinkade. Let's get straight to the top stories. In Yemen. A ceasefire is reached between rebels and government forces, but will it hold? Plus, the investigation into the France terror attacks reveals missteps by authorities trying to keep track of the Kouachi brothers. And questions surround the death of an Argentine prosecutor. His body found the day before he was supposed to testify against the country's president. Hello and welcome. A chaotic day is ending with a ceasefire in Yemen. Houthi rebels who took over the capital last September fought with government soldiers. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is based in Yemen, and there are fears that further chaos could make the country a bigger hotspot for terrorists. Let's get the latest now from the capital. CNN's Nick Paton Walsh is there. He's the only Western journalist in the city. Now, Nick, there is a ceasefire, but are you still hearing gunfire there?
No, there are the occasional crack here and there. My colleagues heard a few moments ago, but apart from one burst about 2 hours ago, it has been more or less quiet since that 4:30 ceasefire appeared to have come across the city. But I have to remind you, there are political talks going on now with predominantly military parts of both sides, and unless they hash out some sort of political compromise out of this, then it's entirely possible the fighting will resume at some point tonight or tomorrow. So the sense of tension far from lifted. But Lynda, let me rewind back to how we got here. This is ostensibly being called by presidential officials an attempted coup by the Houthi movement. That's a Shia grouping of tribesmen, militia, etc. They've been very successful in moving through Yemeni territory in the past few months. Took over much of the capital last year towards the end of it, but also detained 48 hours ago the presidential chief of staff. Now, presidential officials said they were very concerned more key officials could also be abducted in their terminology, and laid out a security plan around key buildings. That blocked some roads. Houthis tried to unblock them, saying the people of the capital had the right to move around. Clashes started. Not clear who began them, but we saw over to this side of me heavy artillery dueling for control of the presidential administration. One Yemeni official saying that's effectively the building with which you control the country. Ceasefire talks were tried, but when the Prime Minister left those talks, his convoy was hit, not clear who by. When the Houthi representative left those talks, his convoy was attacked as well. Real fear that things were spiralling out of control. Intensive fire we heard hitting residential areas, many civilians said to be injured too in the crossfire. Then this ceasefire finally came into control. The Houthis, though, taken some ground. The governments say they've taken the state TV and state news agency. The Houthis deny it. A real day of turmoil here in which this failing state looked edged closer and closer towards a bit of collapse of its government.
A really concerning situation there. And with the country in disarray, is the fear for Western countries and counterintelligence agencies that al-Qaeda will have a chance to thrive?
Well, for years now, al-Qaeda has really been able to move with a degree of liberty in Yemen. Yemeni officials doing what they can to track them, US drones doing what they can to kill their senior leadership. And no doubt AQAP have a stronghold here in Yemen. The issue is twofold, really. Yes, the more chaotic this country gets, the harder it is for Yemeni officials, for even US intelligence here to track down al-Qaeda targets. On the other hand, too, we're seeing an increasingly sectarian divide here. The Houthi Shia often fighting Sunni tribes. Sometimes the government finds themselves on the Sunni side, and often Sunnis are frightened of the Shia advance, like we're seeing across the Middle East in many conflicts. Some of those Sunnis, I'm told, taking up arms to assist al-Qaeda in some of the local battles, and that's actually led to a local recruitment boost for al-Qaeda that's freed up some of their people to think about external operations. A complex way of looking at it, but at the end of the day, it means that this chaos benefits al-Qaeda in plotting attacks against the West. That's what's got everyone worried. Lynda?
Nick, can you give us a little bit more background on the Houthi rebels? Give us some understanding of their development over the years.
Well, there's been a lengthy standoff between them and the government for many years here, but that has risen slowly. They are from ostensibly the northern areas around Sanaa to the north of the city where I'm standing, stemming from the Houthi family, to whom many different groups, factions, political, tribal, militia have pledged allegiance. They've been a substantial grouping for quite some time, but in the past year, and people are struggling to explain how this happened, and one Western diplomat suggested Iranian assistance, financial and training, which the Houthis deny themselves. The Houthis have got their act together enormously and been disciplined, taken a lot of territory. In fact, some say when they came into Sanaa and took over the streets putting up checkpoints, there was a calm which residents were initially grateful for. But of course, too, there comes a demand for services as well. And now we reach the crunch point. The Houthis seem to want more power, but are they going to get that? Lynda?